Hi, this is Christy McCreary with the State Department of Education's Office of Assessments. Today, I'm going to share with you some updates to the Oklahoma School Testing Program. Today, I will give you a brief overview of the Oklahoma School Testing Program, updates to our grades 3 through 8 and grade 11 assessments, programmatic updates, and some data review takeaways. First of all, I'd like to share with you our ESSA goals that are directly tied to assessment. Per our ESSA plan, we are required to assess at least 95% of Oklahoma students each year, and only 1% may take alternate tests. States may assess more than what is federally required. Here in Oklahoma, the only test we administer beyond the federal minimum is U.S. history. Other goals include adopting challenging academic standards, which we did with the Oklahoma Academic Standards, and assessing math and ELA each year for grades 3 through 8 and once in grades 9 through 12, and assessing science once in grades 3 through 5, once in grades 6 through 9, and once in grades 10 through 12. On your screen is a chart that shows which subjects are assessed at each grade level. There have been no changes since last year. Here's the testing calendar for the 2019-2020 school year. As you can see, the testing window for grades 3 through 8 has shifted. It now starts on April 20th, and for online testing, that ends on May 15th. All paper tests must be completed by May 1st. The window for grade 11 tests remains similar to last year, with science and U.S. history running from April 1st through the 24th, ACT running from April 7th through 9th and 14th through 16th, and SAT running from April 14th to 16th. I would like to draw your attention to grade 3 at the top. You will notice that grade 3 math is online this year, while grade 3 ELA is still on paper. As you schedule your tests, we would like you to be aware of a few important dates. The writing section for grades 5 and 8 must be completed by May 8th to receive preliminary results. All paper-based tests will need to be completed by May 1st. Also, grade 3 ELA must be completed by April 24th in order to receive preliminary RSA results by May 20th. The WIDA test window occurs from January 13th through March 27th. Students who are marked as EL are required to take one of the WIDA assessments and will be automatically uploaded to the WIDA AMS system on November 26th. There have been some changes to NAEP this year as well. For long-term trends, students will take paper-based assessments of math and reading. These tests are age-based. The window for testing 13-year-olds is October 14th through December 20th. For 9-year-olds, it is January 6th through March 13th. And the window for testing 17-year-olds is March 16th through May 22nd. This chart shows the age ranges, e-filing windows, assessment windows, and assessment details. For districts selected to participate, NAEP testing will take approximately 90 minutes, and the target sample size is approximately 50 students per school. Now, let's look at some updates for grades 3 through 8. The Parent Portal is a tool that is currently available to parents. On the right side of your screen is a list of resources we have developed for the Parent Portal. Between July 25th and September 25th, 13,374 individual users logged in. That sounds like a lot until you remember that we test approximately 50,000 students per grade at 6 grade levels, so approximately 300,000 students are loaded in the Parent Portal. We would appreciate your help in sharing the message to parents that this tool is available. The ELA tests for grades 3, 4, 6, and 7 contain short constructed response items. Last year, these questions were field tested, but this year they are operational and will count towards student scores. The writing prompt for grades 5 and 8 could be to any of the 3 modes in the standards. Exemplars for all 3 modes, as well as rubrics, are available on our website. For math, cluster items will be operational for all grades. Grades 4 through 8 will have technology enhanced items. These items are operational for grades 6 through 8 and field tested for grades 4 and 5. Formula reference sheets are available for grades 6 through 8, and the calculator policy has not changed. The online readiness tool for grades 3 through 5 has been available since mid-September. It is meant to familiarize students with the testing platform, not to predict performance. It contains a small sampling of the types of questions students will see on the test, and students will be able to practice with the tools and accommodations that are available on the test. We also have available the updated test and item specifications. There are additional sample questions, and each question includes the standard being assessed, the DOK level and explanation, and distractor rationales. We also have a site capacity tool that is designed to provide technology coordinators with a quantitative picture of device and bandwidth capacity. Now let's go over some updates to the CCRA program. The Oklahoma State Department of Education is required to go through peer review for our assessments. We must submit evidence to the United States Department of Education to ensure that our tests meet the guidelines and requirements set forth in ESSA. We submitted peer review for ACT in December and received feedback in early June. Although we received substantially meets, 3 requirements were addressed. First, we must collect evidence of stakeholder feedback from all districts who intend to choose ACT as their locally selected option. Districts must also collect signed information consent forms from parents before students can participate in the non-test portion of the SAT or ACT. In addition, we can no longer offer non-college reportable scores, as this was seen as an equity issue. The assessments remain the same as last year, with math and ELA tested through either the SAT or ACT. The science test consists of 50% physical science and 50% life science, and the U.S. history test is 50% civics and 50% U.S. history. This test is now operational. The Oklahoma State Department of Education is providing the SAT with essay for eligible 11th graders as part of the state's College and Career Readiness Accountability Assessment. It is expected that all students will test digitally. Only students who have an accommodation requiring a paper-pencil test can test on paper. Each student must complete all sections of the test in one day unless the student has been approved for accommodations that extend testing time beyond a day. All students taking the test on the same day have to test at the same time. Schools will take the digital SAT school day with essay in April. This slide shows a high-level timeline of tasks and events that you will encounter leading up to test day. Actual dates will differ by test date. A more detailed timeline of important dates will be outlined on the digital testing portal closer to the administration. This slide shows the training, resources, and support that is available to districts using the SAT as their state assessment. Here is the calendar for districts administering the ACT as their state assessment. As you can see, the online testing window is open from April 7th through 9th and 14th through 16th. One update that ACT has made is that Proctor caching is no longer required. It is highly recommended, but it is no longer required. Other updates include a wording change. Rather than ACT-approved accommodations, you will now see ACT-authorized accommodations. ACT has added 6 additional languages, and 2 additional options have been added for gender. Now let's take a moment to discuss graduation guidance. For students graduating in 2020, students must satisfy the local school district's graduation policy concerning assessment. Per state and federal law, school districts are required to administer the state and federally required assessments to all students. If you have seniors who are missing 1 or more assessments, you will receive an email notifying you of this, and you are expected to manually upload those students for testing. At a minimum, schools must transcript OPIs for the ELA composite, math, science, and U.S. history. Participation can be recorded for U.S. history if an OPI is not available. Now let's go over some updates to the testing program. Precode will be pulled on January 17th. This means that the WAVE will pull student information into the Cognia portal. In order to ensure that information is pulled correctly, please ensure that you have received and certified all STNs, student names, birth dates, EL, IEP, and 504 status, and grade. Additional training on Precode will be provided by the SDE in December. The grade the student is in during Precode will determine what grade level tests they will take. If the student changes grades during the testing window, the grade the student was in during Precode determines what grade level tests they will take. Students who are enrolled in grade 11 when Precode is taken will be expected to take all 11th grade assessments. If you have seniors who require assessment, you may add them manually to the vendor's portal. If a student transfers districts and is enrolled in the wrong grade, do not exit and re-enroll. Simply correct it in your local student information system. The demographic overlay report will be submitted soon after the testing window closes. Be sure the information in your student information system is correct. There have been minor revisions to the IEP 504 Accommodations Manual. It has been updated to add more information concerning the kiosk accessibility mode. A paper testing checklist has been added to help determine when paper testing is appropriate. In addition, we have updated the chart for SAT and ACT accommodations. There have been a few changes to the EL Accommodations Manual as well. There are Spanish PSTGs that are available electronically. The EL8 accommodation has been updated to reflect Grade 3 Math text-to-speech. EL10 has been updated so that districts can order Spanish audio files to use with English paper tests if you have a Spanish-speaking student who does not read Spanish. In addition, we have Spanish translated test forms for computer-based math and science tests. These must be requested from Cognia. Again, Spanish recordings may be used with English paper tests. We have some test administrator test proctor changes. First, the modules are required and no longer optional. These can be used in conjunction with district-delivered training, but the modules and certificates are required for all test administrators and all test proctors. The test administrator module includes test proctor training, so all of your test administrators will automatically be trained as proctors and will not require additional training. We also have adjusted the test proctor ratios. For paper testing, you must have one test proctor for up to 35 students. However, for computer testing, you can have one test proctor for up to 50 students. Now let's look at some of the results of the 2019 tests. The state summary results are available on our website. Each year, we conduct what we call data review. We look at student performance on individual questions, and we focus on questions that most of our students across the state get wrong. We review these questions and their test data closely to determine if there is something wrong with the question or if it indicates an instructional issue. Based on data review from the last 3 years, we have collected some takeaways to share with you. For Grade 3, we have noticed that on questions tied to ELA Standard 3, students struggle with discerning essential details. Student performance on items tied to ELA Standard 5 indicate weaknesses in grammar, especially subject-verb agreement. Student performance on the short constructed response questions showed that students could answer the questions but struggled with supporting their answers with text evidence. For Grade 4, students struggled with ELA Standard 2, specifically on comparing and contrasting details, and they, like their third grade counterparts, struggled with supporting their answers on the short constructed response questions. Students in 5th grade struggle with estimation and measurement. Student performance on items aligned to Physical Science Standards 1 through 3 indicate a possible need for professional development in that area. On the writing prompt, we noticed students struggled with incorporating text evidence from both passages. Students often wrote to a different mode than what was explicitly stated in the prompts, and students seemed to struggle with comprehending the accompanying passages. Students in Grade 6, like in Grade 5, struggled with geometry and measurement standards, specifically with estimation and measurement of objects. They struggled with data and probability, specifically on justifying the most appropriate measure of central tendency and with box and whisker plots. Like students in Grades 3 and 4, Sixth graders struggled with supporting their answers with text evidence on the ELA short constructed response questions. Seventh graders, like their counterparts in lower grades, also struggled supporting answers with text evidence on the ELA short constructed response items. Eighth graders struggled with Physical Science 2-1, Force Arrow Diagrams and Practical Applications of Newton's Law, and Life Science 1-7, Use of Chemical Equations. On the writing prompts, 8th graders struggled with the exact same things 5th graders struggled with, incorporating evidence from both passages, writing to the mode the prompt asks for, and comprehending the passages. For 11th grade, students seem to struggle with items aligned to the physical science standards. If you have not had an opportunity to review the Interim Assessment Alignment Study, I encourage you to do so. It sheds some light on how well aligned these assessments are to the Oklahoma academic standards and to the depth of knowledge alignment that is on the test and item specifications. Each February, we hold required assessment training for district test coordinators. Please mark your calendar. Here is contact information for the Office of Assessments. In addition, on October 15th, we emailed district test coordinators a survey to help us collect performance metrics for our office. If you have not yet completed the survey, please take a moment to provide us feedback on how we're doing and how we can better serve you. Thank you for your time.